Our world is not perfect, and it contains criminals. Criminals need to be able to hide well, otherwise their career will quickly come to an end. Many even incredibly cruel criminals have hidden in plain sight, either accidentally or intentionally, from appearing on TV shows to reporting on their own crimes. There are villains who have managed to hide in plain sight for quite a long time. Rodney Alcala. In 1978, serial killer Rodney Alcala appeared on the TV show The Dating Game and won. 2 years later, he was sentenced to death for the murder of Robin Samsoe and was also suspected of killing several other people. In 1978, The Dating Game host Jim Langer made history by introducing a man named Rodney Alcala as Bachelor Number 1. This man then won the episode, but the bachelorette refused to go on a date with him, citing that he made her uncomfortable. At the time of his appearance on the show, Rodney Alcala was a serial killer who had already murdered at least 5 women. Alcala's series of murders began in the 1960s and ended with his capture in the 1970s. He was then sentenced to death for the murder of 12-year-old Robin Samsoe and 4 other women. Alcala later appealed his sentence twice, and each time the guilty verdict was upheld. Investigators believed that Alcala might have had more victims. In 2001, Alcala passed away at the age of 77 years. Juan David Ortiz. Juan David Ortiz is a former U.S. Border Patrol agent who worked in Laredo, Texas. In 2018, he was assigned to assist the Texas Rangers in investigating the murder of 4 women. A few weeks later, when a surviving and escaped victim identified him, the Rangers discovered that Ortiz was the very killer they had been searching for. In 2018, a US Border Patrol agent was arrested on suspicion of being a serial killer. Agent Juan David Ortiz was believed to have killed 4 women in the border town of Laredo, Texas, over a 2-week period. At the time, the Border Patrol had assigned him to assist in investigating his own crimes. Just 2 weeks before Ortiz's arrest, investigators discovered the body of a woman. When a second victim with similar injuries was found, suspicions arose that a serial killer was operating in the area. The Texas Rangers then sought assistance from the Border Patrol, and Ortiz, being the head of intelligence, was chosen for the job. Fortunately, Ortiz's third potential victim managed to escape and later identified him as the attacker. However, by that time, Ortiz had committed 2 more murders, bringing the total number of his victims to 4. Vlado Taneski. In 2008, Macedonian journalist Vlado Taneski was arrested for the murder of 2 elderly women. Before his arrest, he actively wrote on crime-related topics. He was caught after he wrote articles about the murders that included details not released to the public, which only the killer could have known. Vlado Taneski was a Macedonian journalist who gained fame for his reports on a series of murders of elderly women in his hometown. His reports soon attracted the attention of thousands of readers. However, in 2008, local police suspected Taneski because he seemed to know details that had not yet been made public. According to investigators, Taneski knew the exact type of telephone cord used to strangle and bind the women, something only the killer could have known. His DNA was also found at 2 crime scenes, which heightened their suspicions. As a result, he was arrested and charged with the murder of 2 elderly women. However, he was able to avoid trial because he committed suicide. He left a note saying, "I did not commit these murders." Craig Payer. In late 1986, a student named Karen Knott was found murdered near an abandoned bridge in San Diego, California. As a result, a local news channel interviewed a highway patrol officer about the safety of women in the city. This officer, named Craig Payer, was actually the killer, and during the interview, scratches left by the murdered girl could be seen on his face. On December 27, 1986, when a college student named Karen Knott did not come home, her family reported her missing. Soon, her body was found near an abandoned bridge in San Diego, California. The murder quickly attracted media attention. One journalist working near the crime scene asked a highway patrol officer how women could protect themselves at night. This patrol officer, named Craig Payer, was the murderer of Miss Knott. His appearance on the news led to his identification by other women he had attacked. As a result, he was convicted of the murder. Stephen McDaniel. On June 30, 2011, a TV journalist conducted a live interview with Stephen McDaniel after his neighbour, Lauren Giddings, was murdered. During the interview, McDaniel appeared shocked upon learning about the murder near his home. Later, investigators determined that McDaniel had broken into his neighbour's apartment and killed her. On the evening of June 25, 2011, friends reported the disappearance of 27-year-old Lauren Giddings. 5 days later, a local news channel interviewed one of her peers and neighbours, Stephen McDaniel, about her disappearance. Throughout the interview, McDaniel appeared worried and frantic as he claimed that no one had seen her since she was reported missing.
Knowing now that McDaniel had murdered and dismembered Giddings, the interview provides a glimpse inside the mind of the killer as he builds his story and his alibi. Take a look.
Person that was living there?
Yeah, Lauren was my neighbor. We're just trying to find out where she is at this point. I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I mean, the last time anyone heard from her was an email that she sent out, and no one's heard from her since.
And did you see her hang out with anyone at the time or anything like that?
I mean, no one has seen her since Saturday. I haven't seen anything. I mean, I've always heard noise outside, but it's just people walking by pretty much.
And she just recently graduated from Mercer?
Yeah, she and I we were both JD students. We graduated.
However, when the reporter eventually mentioned that the police had found Giddings' body nearby, McDaniel was visibly shocked. In reality, McDaniel was responsible for her disappearance. He broke into Giddings' apartment and killed her early in the morning on June 26th. Ed Kemper. Ed Kemper was caught only because he called the local police to confess. Before his arrest, he frequented a local police bar where he had many friends and acquaintances among the officers. Because of this, police didn't initially believe his confessions until Kemper revealed numerous details that only the killer could have known. Ed Kemper is one of the most notorious serial killers in US history, and had he not voluntarily surrendered, he might never have been caught. Kemper began his killing spree at the age of 15 when he coldly murdered his grandparents. After this, he was hospitalized at Atascadero State Hospital for treatment, but upon release, he went on to commit numerous more murders. In the 1970s, his activities culminated in the murders of his mother and her friend. Kemper expected the police to pursue him, but when they did not, he decided to confess. Interestingly, at the time of his killings, Kemper frequented a local police bar called the Jury Room and had friendships with many police officers. As a result, his confessions were initially doubted until he recounted crime details that only the killer could have known. Ward Weaver III. In the 2000s, Ward Weaver III gave a television interview standing over a concrete slab in his backyard. During the interview, he complained about being unjustly pursued as a suspect in the disappearance of 2 local girls. For several months, no one knew that Weaver had actually killed and buried one of the missing girls under that very slab. In August 2001, Ashley Pond disappeared on her way home from school. 2 months later, under similarly suspicious circumstances, her friend Miranda Gaddis also went missing. Several months later, the FBI investigation began to focus on local resident Ward Weaver III, whose daughter was friends with the missing girls. Weaver, however, insisted on his innocence and even invited a film crew into his home to show that he had nothing to hide. During this television interview, he brazenly stood over a concrete slab in his backyard, which he claimed during questioning was intended for a new hot tub. In reality, however, he had buried one of the murdered girls' bodies right in his yard. Tracy Andrews. One night in 1996 in Worcestershire, England, a man named Lee Harvey was killed. His fiancée, Tracy Andrews, claimed that an unknown driver attacked him during a road incident and even appeared at a press conference to plead for public assistance. However, after the press conference, detectives became suspicious of her statements regarding inconsistencies. In the end, she turned out to be the killer of Lee Harvey. John Cooper is a Welsh serial killer who evaded justice for nearly 2 decades. He is now known as the Bullseye Killer due to his appearance on the game show Bullseye in 1989. At that time, no one knew that 4 years earlier, he had murdered Richard and Helen Thomas, brother and sister, and burned down their farmhouse. Less than a month later, Cooper killed another 2 people, Peter and Gwenda Dixon, in Pembrokeshire. He was only apprehended almost 2 decades later. That's all for now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on who you think was the smartest. See you in the next video.